Hello. On Friday the 13th, many miners will be moving their hash rate off of Ethereum to test other networks. How do you think Ergo will cope with a sudden influx of miners? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, so Son of Attack, maybe some other guys, I don't really know. So they announced that will be some testing day on May 13th to move hash power from Ethereum to other cryptocurrencies for one day and see how it goes. Yeah, I don't know how successful will it be and how much hash rate will be directed to the Ergo network in particular. Yeah, let's see. It will be interesting.
Yeah, I joined that forum and dropped the GPU setting document that the mining community had put together, which gives a pretty extensive list of, GPU models and miners and overclocks and fan settings and wattage. And I think it's kind of interesting. It's certainly going to be something to watch how the miners react to, let's just call it kind of like an abusive relationship. Ethereum's kind of abandoning them, after years of, helping them build DeFi and helping them kind of build out the ecosystem. And I certainly think that there are better homes out there where, miners will just be taken care of in a better way. So I'm excited to see how it happens. I think that if that's the case, I'll hop onto that Discord and encourage them to not mine Nanopool. If they want to build a long-term, let's say, relationship in ecosystems, I think that they need to have more of a long-term mindset. Sometimes miners, and it's understandable, they have a business to run. They always want to mine what is the most profitable. Now, on the flip side of that, it's kind of like if you were to trade and you always bought the most profitable thing. Who knows? Maybe there's more interesting, let's say, investment strategies in terms of where to point your hash rate. But I'm certainly happy to support that and happy to see people hop on Ergo. We'll see. Maybe the block time will speed up for a little bit. I do know that if you're going to really get a more accurate assessment of how Ergo adjusts, you probably need to mine for a longer period of time than 24 hours. So hopefully we'll have that discussion on their Discord, and I'm excited to see miners come. Talking about miners, there was a pretty interesting video that came out this week as well from Ergo Prism and GuapSwap, where they were talking about how you can mine using the proxy contract and what that could look like in the future, which is quite fascinating. Especially when you get into the aspects of mining potentially multiple assets via swap, and mining into liquidity pools. It really opens up kind of the first step towards miners taking a bigger role in DeFi in the Ergo ecosystem. And it's exciting to see.
Yeah. And so potentially, I think, DeFi, the DeFi space, right? Let's say, should provide tools for miners, right? Maybe even in the first place, right? Because they're natural first users of everything in the space.
And proof of work, in my opinion, offers a better organic path to DeFi, right? Because there's no preset base rate. So if I'm on a proof of stake chain that I automatically have a 5% return or a 6% return just by staking, that kind of sets the floor where if you're trying to create a new framework that is based on organic growth and you automatically need to come in offering a better return than that base rate, otherwise no one's going to ever participate. It kind of closes the market to, let's say, slower organic type of growth. If I were to say, okay, well, you can do nothing and make 4%, 5%, 6%, or you can take on some potential risk and make 3%, 4%. Nobody's ever going to do that. So then you automatically have to come in at some rate of return that, you know, in the real world is hard to achieve, especially right now with, you know, I think in the bank, I might be earning like 0.25% or something just pathetic. So I do think long-term proof of work, because there is no preset base rate by the protocol, kind of opens the door to longer-term organic DeFi versus having to compete with that protocol base rate.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point. I never thought about it. But yeah, so from the other side, well, if you are participating in DeFi with higher interest rate in proof of stake ecosystem, then yeah, you are basically not supporting the network security, right? Via staking.
Yeah, that's an interesting trade-off. It's like if you're below that base rate, it makes no sense to have DeFi, because the risk profile is interesting. And then if you're above it, you're suddenly not contributing to security because there's an incentive to, not stake. So that's an interesting long-term question. That'll probably piss off a lot of people that even talk about that, but it's interesting to see how is that going to play out. If you look at DeFi on like Ethereum, with DAI, I do think that miners, because they have cost of entry, and if they're not profitable, DeFi makes a lot of sense. How can I, overcome, that loss and make up for, my real world costs? So personally, I think proof of work has always made more sense for DeFi. That's an offensive thing to say in this industry, but it's okay. I'm not against proof of stake. It's just a little bit more complex because you have that base rate in effect.
All right. Yeah, and well, proof of work mining is DeFi per se. So there is a paper by Professor Haviv Zahar from Hebrew University. Well, Aviv and his students, actually. So the paper is stating that actually buying ASICs to mine Bitcoin can be comparable with buying options, right? And yeah, so there is some pretty simple argumentation in the paper, so you can just read a couple of papers from it, a couple of pages from the paper. So then, yeah, then well, as a consequence, it's well more profitable to mine well Bitcoin as well as other cryptocurrencies if well they have higher volatility, right? So there is some result about option pricing here, a very basic one, I believe. So yeah, if we have this even in the very basic level, right? Then yeah, on top levels, so it's also natural to have DeFi everywhere.
Yeah. Let's go to the next question.
Yeah. So well, actually, this conundrum about DeFi and proof of stake. Yeah, this sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea how it's going to play out. It's just kind of my observation. Like, you can't have an organic growth pattern that's lower than the protocol rate because it makes no sense economically. And then if you surpass that and you incentivize users to not provide security, that's another potential problem to look at. So, across multiple protocols, I'm sure we may see multiple, potential solutions for that. But, being that every proof of stake network has its own kind of unique security consensus and things to pay attention to, and ways of participating in DeFi. I have no idea long term how that's going to play out, project to project to project to project. But to me, that seems like a big potential issue to look at.
Right, indeed.